up our theme this month on cultivating authenticity. It's been a deep dive. When we started the month, I believe we were in the other room due to the storm and the tree and whatnot, and we improvised and we still gathered together to explore this topic, part of our year-long theme on living out loud. So far this month, we've discussed how we can cultivate this idea of authenticity by releasing the patterns of thoughts, the attitudes, the actions, the beliefs, all that act as a barrier to us standing in our personal truth and power. Knowing that authenticity is not about becoming anything other than who we already are. And yet, it takes some work. It takes some work to excavate, to explore that sense of who we truly are. So I want to begin with a story this day. Some of you may be familiar with this. So in 1955 or so, they were moving a large statue of the Buddha into a new temple in Thailand. And as it was in the process of being moved, first of all, it was shockingly heavy for being this kind of plastered clay Buddha. And so they called in more support and got in more tools. And as they were lifting up the Buddha to sit on the platform, suddenly the ropes broke, it fell, and it cracked. Well, in that moment, a monk noticed that through the crack began to shine a golden light, or perhaps reflect a golden light. And as they began to excavate and crack the clay covering, they noticed through hammering and chiseling away at the exterior that it was in fact made of solid gold. So this isn't some fairy tale about the pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, which I really wish were true, but I haven't found it yet. This really happened. Historians believe that the Buddha had been covered with clay by the Thai monks several hundred years earlier to hide and protect its value so it wouldn't be stolen during the attacks from the Burmese army that were taking over the area. And unfortunately, through these attacks, the monks who knew the truth of this Buddha had been killed, and the Buddha remained covered until the late 1950s, when this treasure once again was revealed. So just as the golden Buddha was hidden for centuries beneath clay and plaster, so too can we hide our true selves beneath layers of doubt and fear, uncertainty and shame, yes? And just as the golden Buddha was rediscovered and revealed in all its glory, so too can we uncover the truth of who we are and unleash our full potential. But in order to do that, we must first address something. The elephant in the room, or maybe the plaster Buddha in the room, you could say. We must address that which holds us back from actually living our authentic self, which is shame. So Brene Brown, who we refer to often here, is a shame researcher. And she says, I'm going to leave you hanging in a second. Shame is a feeling of unworthiness or self-disconnection that we experience when we believe that we have failed to meet certain expectations or standards. Or it is that we feel we are inherently flawed or defective in some way. So shame is different from guilt, which is the feeling of regret or remorse that we experience when we've done something wrong or hurtful. Shame is a much deeper, more internalized experience. And if we want to be able to show our beautiful golden selves to the world, we must first release those layers that we have covered ourselves with, hiding behind our own deep shame or perhaps feelings of unworthiness. And notice, sometimes then we start to feel bad that we're hiding because of the shame. That's a shame cycle, right? We feel shame for being shamed. And we can do such a number on ourselves to start really, believing that we're the only ones that feel this way and that perhaps something really is wrong with us, and we can isolate and have all these things that hold us back. And I'm here to say, though, that shame is a common, universal human experience for all of us to overcome. This doubt and fear and feeling of unworthiness is one of the most common core beliefs within each of us that holds us back. That feeling of not enough, yeah? Anyone relate? Yeah, so, if we believe and feel that we are unlovable, then we start to try to convince ourselves that this isn't true by things like working harder or being productive, trying to get approval from other people and change ourselves or hide parts of ourselves that we are afraid perhaps will not be as accepted by others. And then maybe someday we will become enough and we will be worthy of love and connection. Or sometimes shame shows up as withdrawing and not fully engaging with life, yeah? It can look like, on the other end of the spectrum, overcompensating by showing off or acting like we have it all together or that we are somehow better than others. So shame underlies so much of our human behavior, often our unconscious human behavior. But we are here as a community committed to waking up and to live a more conscious and aware life. So what we need to do is not become something different, but simply release all that we are not. All that we have been hiding behind to try to fit in or blend in. Now is the moment, now is the time to shine our unique light upon the world, knowing that this is where our inner value truly lives, our inherent wholeness. And we are the only ones that is holding that back. Brené Brown reminds us that shame can be overcome, but you might not like it because it's through vulnerability. Oh. And the good news is we're going to spend next month on this topic of vulnerability. And we have this wonderful book, The Gifts of Imperfection by Brené Brown, that we're going to be using as our book of the month next month and doing some more study around. So don't worry, you'll be supported in this process of overcoming shame through vulnerability and empathy and connection with others. So it is possible to cultivate shame resilience by learning to recognize and then challenge those negative thoughts, that self-talk that may fuel those feelings of shame and doubt. And that is one thing that I love about this community, right? We get to come together to remind each other of the truth of who we are. And even when we don't see it for ourselves, there will be someone here that will witness your truth, remind you, reflect back to you the truth of who you are, and see that golden Buddha consciousness within each of us, even when we can't see it for ourselves. So the practice is to become aware. to become aware of what triggers our shame, and then let that guide us to those areas that we have not wanted to look at. Let it guide us to those places where we perhaps do not feel loved or do not accept ourselves. And from that place of awareness, we have the opportunity to heal, to stop seeking worth from the approval of others and regain our agency and power through self-love. So the science of mind teaching, which is our core teaching here at the spiritual community, one of the primary principles is oneness. Now that word can be very vague, and we can spend many hours discussing what it means, but essentially it means that we are all spirit in expression. We are all an extension of the one divine presence, and therefore we are all connected. We are all inherently worthy. For if we are the very life of God, spirit, universe, whatever word works for you, and if God, spirit, life, universe is whole, is perfect, is worthy, then we too must be. There is nothing lacking within us. Spirit came to know itself more fully through its creation and then declared its creation good. There was nothing lacking when we arrived on this physical plane as beautiful newborn babies, just as there's nothing lacking now. We are originally blessed. I invite you to say that with me now. There is nothing lacking. I am originally blessed. I am worthy. I am loved. I am whole. There's an anonymous quote that says, when you know your worth, no one can make you feel worthless. So true, right? And our worth does not have anything to do with anything that we do or have done. It is simply who we are and what we know. The only thing that stands between us knowing our worthiness and recognizing our light into the world is not embodying this truth of wholeness and who we are. So we must become aware of those places where we are unconscious or where we have fallen asleep to the truth of who we are, and what those thoughts or patterns are that keep us from embracing and living our life fully. So what's standing in the way? The only thing standing in the way between us and our good is the embodiment of our shame, forming the belief that we are unworthy. And that sense of unworthiness keeps us from living life to the fullness. It keeps us feeling separate from each other and our authentic self. So the key is to be courageous, vulnerable, willing enough to explore our shame and to talk about it, therefore taking away its power. I know for myself, as soon as I speak something that I feel like I have internalized something, as soon as I kind of out that feeling, it immediately loses its grip on me, right? It's like the resonant energy no longer has anything to dance with, and it can begin to fall away back to the nothingness from which it came. As we embrace somatic practices to release the grip of shame on our bodies and our mind and our spirit and reclaim our power. So while shame may be a universal experience, we don't talk about it like it is, right? And that's how it maintains its power and its place in our society by keeping us small because we feel afraid or ashamed to talk about the shame. According to Brené Brown in this wonderful book, The Gifts of Imperfection, we're going to be looking at next month, shame needs 3 things to grow out of control in our lives: secrecy, silence, and judgment. So we need to share our experience, and shame loses its power when it is spoken. We can find ourselves hiding in the fear that others might discover who we really are, or somehow that we are an imposter, or that there is something wrong with us. But noticing those thoughts before they can take hold of our lives, we can begin to reinstate our power simply by noticing them, questioning them, and then reminding ourselves of the truth. This is how we take back our power and stand in the golden, beautiful light of the truth of who we are. And when we withhold things from ourselves because we think we aren't good enough or we're not enough, whatever the not enough is, right? Maybe I'm not successful enough, or I'm not productive enough, or creative enough, or talented enough, strong enough, spiritual enough, not attractive enough. Whatever the enoughness is, which, first of all, how do we even know what that is unless we are comparing ourselves to something outside of ourselves, which is also then a trap and judgment. But whatever that nothingness or that not enoughness may be for us, that will point us back to our shame. And that is where we can get curious and question. Is that true? How do I know it's true? Am I willing to see the opposite of this thought or belief as true or truer? What if I am smart enough? Am I willing to consider that I am enough just as I am? And what this does is open us up to a new possibility for insight and self-discovery, and it brings us back to the awareness that we live in a field of pure potentiality, a field of infinite possibility, wherein lies our worthiness and our more than enoughness. So simply take a breath and imagine now, just try it on. It's like an exercise. You try on clothes, they fit, they don't. But you have to be willing to try them on to find the perfect fit. So imagine right now how it would feel to fully embody your wholeness, your worthiness, to be fully who you are in your own skin, and know that you are worthy, no matter what anyone else may say or think. Right here, right now, I ask, are you willing to let go of what other people think of who you are? And stand firm in the truth and the knowingness of your own being. What if you were to claim your worthiness and stop judging yourself? And here's the game changer, y'all. Stop judging the worthiness of others. Because we are truly one. If you really want to transform the belief of unworthiness, practice seeing all that you encounter as worthy, as whole, as beautiful, as the beloved. Releasing this habit really just becomes a habit. You know, we're so trained by all these exterior voices in the world and the, sensational news and the drama and reality shows and all this that entertain us. But after a while, the entertainment can start to become how we interact with each other day to day as a society. which is very judgmental and critical and comparing. And, so what if we were to wake up to that and begin to release that habit of judging others, and then take all that energy of looking out here at everyone else and all that, take all that energy and bring it back to loving yourself fully. There's a lot of power and energy in that. Dr. Ernest Holmes, the founder of the Science of Mind teaching and author of the Science of Mind book and many books, says we should stop condemning ourselves. It is the worst condemnation there is. And when we stop condemning ourselves, the condemnation of others will not reach us. We are worthy. And we are worthy of all that we need and desire, including love and compassion and belonging and connection. The things that money can't buy, and the things that we cannot earn, because it is simply who we are. Shame told us that we have to somehow earn our worthiness by seeking approval from others outside of us. That if you can't earn someone's love, then you have to pay the price by betraying your authentic self. But today we are rejecting that narrative. We are embracing our wholeness. We can have it all: the love, the belonging, the acceptance, the connection, and our full authentic being and expression in this world. We don't have to settle for less, because we are not less. You and me, we are invaluable. So begin affirming that truth and notice how life starts to show up as a reflection of that truth. Stop looking for others for approval. Know your worth. Embrace the things that you've been running from and embody wholeness. As Holmes says, there is something within you beyond all doubt and fear, something which has never been limited by your acts or destroyed by your feelings. This is the only something that can make you whole. And I would add, this is your wholeness. So this journey of uncovering the truth of who we are, it's not always easy, but I tell you, it is worth it. Just as the golden Buddha, now one of the most revered symbols in Thai Buddhism, is revered and honored, so too can our authentic selves become that symbol of inspiration and hope to others around us to shine their light. We've been told, don't be, what's the word? Show-offy or whatever. Be humble, right? Humble is a word I love. I love humility, but it's not the same thing as dimming or hiding your light, right? You can know the truth of who you are so fully and be humble and not have to brag about it, but that's very different than hiding who we are. Because as we actually live authentically and shine our light in the world in a very grounded and humble way, we give that as an example and inspiration for others to do the same. And that is how collectively we begin to wake up to the truth of who we are and shift into a consciousness of oneness, creating a world that works for everyone. So it's time to strip away the plaster of shame and reveal the solid gold that lies within each of us. Rediscovering our inner strength and our beauty and our talents and our passion, our inherent worth. Embracing our authenticity and letting our light shine. So, this week, the invitation is to practice first self-awareness. Notice and name that voice of shame. And then consciously feel what you are feeling in that moment Where does it live in your body? And don't judge it. Just notice, breathe, and then courageously step forward into the truth of who you are. And then here's the advanced practice. If you choose to accept it, share with a trusted friend. Reach out to one of our licensed spiritual practitioners that are available to know the truth, to affirm the truth for you through affirmative prayer. Our spiritual coaches who are available to sit with you and listen. Or perhaps a therapist or a friend or a family member or a minister. Someone that you can trust that will just listen to you without giving advice or judgment. Share your shame in order to release it. And then let yourself be seen and known because you are worthy to be seen and known and loved. Let the world know that you are here to wake up, step up, and make a difference. Yes? Yes. And so it is. All right. So let us now move into this process of embodying this message. Taking an opportunity to consciously drop down from our heads to our hearts. Breathing deep into our center. Quieting the mind. And simply allowing the words that have been spoken to settle into our energetic field. Our physical body, our spiritual body, our mental body, all as one whole being. Allowing the vibration of the word that has been spoken to permeate our entire field. Energetic, physical, mental, spiritual, emotional field. Knowing and recognizing that there is one life, one presence, that is love, that is wholeness, that is the very essence and truth of who I am. And as I know this to be true for me, this must be true for each and every person hearing the sound of my voice. So it is from this place of oneness that I affirm this truth for all of us, knowing, claiming, declaring, and standing in the truth of my inherent worthiness, knowing my value, loving myself so fully that nothing can stop that. Nothing anyone else can say or do, no thing outside of me gets to determine my worth or value. I stand firm in the awareness of my wholeness, of my love, of my truth, of my worth. I am enough. I am valuable. I am worthy. I am whole, perfect, and complete right here, right now. So I release and reject the idea that there is anything outside of me to be, do, or become in order to know this truth. As I stand firmly in the awareness of my wholeness. And it is with great gratitude that I accept this word right here, right now. And I release it into the universe, into the action of the law that always says, yes, 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 my beloved, it is done, and it is so. And so it is.